DJI Avata 360 has been out for several months now. The hype is over. Influencer has already moved on to the Pocket 4 Pro and the Insta360 Luna. But after all the spec sheet argument, all the Avata 360 win in image quality verdicts, nobody put the Antigravity A1 with its latest firmware in the air at the same height as the Avata 360 flying together in same conditions. So that is what we did right here, side by side in the air with DJI OSMO 360 as the base reference. Here's what came straight out of the cameras. What the hell? At a glance, the Antigravity A1 is better looking? Sharper image, more details, clear stitch line, way less welding flare under the sun. But wait! Every single reviewer said the Avata 360 has better image quality, bigger sensor, 10-bit D-Log amp, game over in specs, right? This unsponsored, unbiased video is going to tell you the truth. We got a lot to cover, let's go! DJI Avata 360 right here was better at launch on pure image quality. But Antigravity rolled out a major image quality update, so the gap today is not the gap reviewer tested back in March. Whether those updates actually deliver or are just another Insta360 marketing hypes, the only way to find out is through a fair side-by-side comparison. Okay, so now we are outside. It blows flying boat zone right here. That is the DJI Avata 360 and that is the Antigravity A1. We had the DJI OSMO 360 as a comparison. They both running at the same time. It's a chart right down there. If you see down here, it's a photo chart right down there. So we are in a roughly same distance to the ground. We try to get the drone as close as possible without crashing into each other. Please do not try this at home. Kimchi is keeping an eye on it as my spoiler, so I don't accidentally be an idiot. Let's take a closer look here using DJI OSMO 360 as the base reference, which is arguably the best consumer 360 camera out in the market right now. The Avata 360 has more detail than the OSMO 360. It also has no chromatic aberration and aliasing artifacts. The raw image quality is significantly increased, so the best 360 camera is actually the one that can fly. Kinda crazy if you think about it. But how does that compare to Antigravity A1 on the latest firmware? If you look at the text right here, we can still read PD movie, but it's unreadable on both Avata 360 and OSMO 360. The clarity is increased on Antigravity A1. If you look at the grass, it just looks sharper on the A1. Let's take a closer look at the video frame by frame. You see this dot on my anti-gravity goggles is coming in and out in the Avata 360 footage. Why is that? Well, there are many reasons, but one of my guesses is bad codec compression. Insta360 has a great relationship with Apple, so it gets ProRes output on their software. Well, on their desktop software, the Insta360 Studio. If you care about image quality, never ever edit and export using your phone. This will be your first mistake if your AK footage look like shit. Back to the codec topic, the DJI Studio only has H.265 export. I actually export in a max customized bitrate, so it is still close to lawless huge file in theory. But if you understand codec compression, you know compressing HEVC on top of an HEVC is a bad idea. It compresses out detail that will capture in the sensor, like the dot right here. Insta360 uses ProRes 422. The end result is a huge file, but it is a good file we can pull detail back in post. It's just not possible in DJI in the H.265 export. If you use AI upscale like Topaz video, these details are important as well. Topaz cannot create detail that are not there at the first place. It's not Gen AI, it's only enhanced, so detail does matter, and DJI is throwing them away in the bad post-production pipeline. And this is the same complaint I have for OSMO 360. DJI seem to not care about professional user. So send this video to them. Ask them to work with Apple or Avid to get lossless support on their software. We can bypass this using DaVinci Resolve 21, which now has the professional grade main concept codec built right in. So you compress once doing export of your social media video or onto your Apple Vision Pro, and that is why my immersive video looks so much better than everybody else. And that is the reason. I do not want to spoil my secret just yet. More on that in my tutorial on DJI Avata 260 editing deep dive. Now flip to the front and look at the stitch line area. For high details like the tree right here, I think A1 is doing a better job in distance stitching with their new AI stitching algorithm, especially for sudden start and stop motion in the direction of the flight. And here's a side-by-side comparison. If we pan up and look at the sun, we notice a different problem: veiling flare. You can see the giant green tint on the Avata 260 footage. It makes the top lens footage softer compared to the A1. Veiling flare reduces image sharpness, which is a known fact. But Antigravity A1 lens is also not perfect. It features this long, clear flare line that just look really unnatural, which is not in any Avata 260 footage. And when in high sun at noon, Avata 260 sometimes create this colorful flare spot that is really distracting in the footage. So both lenses are kinda cheaply made with poor flare resistance. It's common in replaceable lens design as they have to use cheap lenses to reduce the cost of the replaceable lens. It is a shame. I know, this is a lot of optical theory. Kimchi is also confused and running away from my 360 drone tracking. But stay with me, because the next part actually helps if you already own the Avata 260. In the latest version of DJI Studio, we now have a new chromatic aberration control that can help reduce the veiling flare mismatch problem between the top and the bottom lens, as you see right here. Set reduction to high and you will see the blend is much better now instead of a hard line in the March release. It does not remove the veiling flare, which is a physical optic problem, but it at least hides the stitch line better. Talking about stitch line, we also see this very poor stitch line problem in close-up. To be fair, this is not a unique Avata 260 problem. It is a two-lens 260 drone problem. As you can see here on the side profile, Avata 260 is actually better than Antigravity A1 in terms of close distance stitching on the left and right side profile during hovering. This is because the Avata 260 lens right here are physically closer together than the Antigravity A1. This is a physical advantage that AI just cannot fix. So for indoor flying, Avata 260 is in general better than Antigravity A1 for close proximity indoor virtual tour or tight space flying. Like right here, shot by our Part 107 FPV pilot CJ using the motion control and DJI goggles. Now let's go back to the side-by-side footage from earlier. There is something else going on you might have missed. Both clips are post-stabilized, by the way, so this is the final 260 result. The Avata 260 is drifting more so than the Antigravity A1, and you can clearly see it in the behind-the-scenes footage right here as well. The reason why is the cylinder roof style propeller and the propeller guard. This design is great for an FPV drone, which always in constant movement. And technically, Avata 260 is an FPV drone. But for immersive 360, hovering in the air gives viewer a chance to look around without motion sickness. This is a key moment of shot inside headset like Apple Vision Pro or Meta Quest. The aerodynamic of the guard is easier to catch wind, plus the heavier weight on the Avata 260 making it harder to keep it still in the air. This is just another design problem that's great for FPV but sucks for 260 drone. Avata 260 right here tries to be both but end up not great at both. The ceiling roof design is not the only physical problem with this drone. There is another one that nobody talks about and it shows up in low light. Now look at the different time of day capture. Here we have both drones flying toward the sunset. The Avata 360 looked amazing in sunset with the beautiful 10-bit D-Log-M, a lot more details than Antigravity A1 with almost no digital noise thanks to a big 1-inch, close to 1-inch sensor. I cannot argue the image quality in low light condition like sunset. Avata 360 is great for that. But when it stops, even in cinema mode, you can see the motion blur that render the frame useless. The reason why is that there is no physical gimbal vibration dampening on the drone camera, so the stabilization is all in-sensor image-based stabilization. When in low shutter speed, even in 1/100s, you see all the vibration when your movement is not smooth. Antigravity A1 has a physical vibration dampening, same as my custom-built OSMO 260 drone. The physical dampening reduces the uncontrollable physical world impact, like gusts of wind or start and stop suddenly, which give us a more stable, sharper image because the sensor is not constantly trying to de-motion blur the movement. If this kind of breakdown is useful, drop a like below. It really helps independent, evidence-based, long-form bet for YouTube algorithm review like this one right here reach more real people against the paid campaign. 360 video is not the only heavy advertised feature on the Avata 360. Let's talk about 360 photo. DJI Avata 360 right here can take on 120 megapixel JPEG image, double the pixel of A1, which is 55 megapixel. You can take both DNG, RAW and JPEG, but the software cannot stitch RAW just yet. In a direct side-by-side comparison, you can tell DJI image quality is a lot better. But again, it is not perfect for immersive 360 photo. If you take a closer look at the distance stretch line right here, it is actually very sloppy. You can clearly tell this is optical flow blend together. Antigravity A1 has a way better stitching, powered by AI. Not perfect still, but better. Okay, I can talk about image quality all day as I am a professional digital image technician. But there are things equally as important, like flight control.
Too close to home point. Landing automatically.
No. Oh my god.
Return to home canceled.
So you see what happened, right? I mean, you just try to land on the home point, but you're not on a long landing pad. Just Antigravity just have a lot of issue. Let's go ahead and land this.
Landing.
Again. Oh my god, again. One of my biggest problem with the Antigravity A1 is this drone cannot go backward, left or right easily. So it makes precision flying almost impossible. As you just saw, when the AI landing failed to find my landing path, I hit the curve twice when I tried to land this thing and destroy my propeller. Moving immersive 360 video requires precision flying, and A1 does not have that. Even with the upcoming release of the regular controller, there's no guarantee we will have going backward available on the A1 because there is no backward sensor. On the contrary, Avata 360 right here have 360 optical avoidance and fly like a regular drone that you are used to. To me, it's just a lot easier to get what I want. Yes, the Antigravity A1 right here has longer flight time on paper, a couple of minutes longer on the standard battery, and way longer if you use a high capacity one. But here is what every spec sheet reviewer miss. None of that matter if you cannot land your shot. With the A1, every manual non-AI move costs you an extra pass in the sky. Cannot go backward means you need to fully turn around to redo your shot. It is hard to pull off motion control style repeatable movement just back and forth with micro fine-tuning and tracking. You burn through that extra flying time with calibrating, when on the Avata 360 right here, you just make a small precise adjustment and reshoot with a regular drone controller. Moving your joystick instead of your full body, it looks more professional on set as well. The A1 spec sheet said it has more flight time, My memory card tell me that Avata 360 here give me more usable shot. That is the gap between reading a press release and actually flying the drone. Okay, so on flight control, Avata 360 is the clear winner. So why am I not just telling you to buy it? Because if you're in the US, there is one more problem we need to talk about, and it's a big one. So based on pure spec, DJI Avata 360 is cheaper and better. But there is a trade-off. It weighs 450 grand, so if you're in the US, you have to register it with the FAA and pass your trust test to fly it recreationally. And if you fly commercially, you also need a Part 107 license. Even with all that paperwork done, you're still facing flying restriction that a sub 250 grand drone could legally fly into. And because the Avata 360 right here is over 250 grand, the FAA remote ID is constantly broadcasting your drone's location, your registration information, and your takeoff position. Anyone with a free phone scanner can scan and see it. So your home address and your filming location are basically public information when you fly. If you're in the US, there's also no DJI Care Refresh program. So if you crash hard, you are paying full retail for repairs or a new drone. Yes, there are replaceable lens kits like other influencers mentioned, but most of the time, you need more than replacing your lens if your drone fell out of the sky. And this is a new drone. It will malfunction. If you bought it in the US, you know it takes 10 to 20 minutes to even get the GPS signal. Impatient users are crushing it already, and it is reported all over Facebook group and Reddit. Let me stress this. Flying with no peace of mind is no fun. So the image quality has to be so much better for anyone in the US to even consider buying it. Beyond regulation and image quality, there are a few practical things that nobody talk about until you actually own this drone for a few months. So let me show you what other reviewer missed. The Antigravity A1 has its SD card exposed to the element. So if you fly in the desert like Burning Man, you risk your most important assets, your media. DJI sealed all the port on the Avata 360, so it is safer to fly in different weather conditions. Another small thing, DJI rotated the lens when landing. And the Avata 360 right here comes with this lens cover that is very convenient to pack. The Antigravity A1 had this little leg, but I always forgot to extend them when the drone is powered off, and I keep scratching my bottom lens. For a videographer, pulling on the lens cap is second nature, but extend a little leg to put the camera down, that is a new habit that we need to train our brain on. And the only way to really protect the Antigravity A1 is to put the drone back in this box. So it ends up being a kind of bulky package. And not to mention, you need 4 things to fly the Antigravity A1. The drone itself, the goggle, the battery for the goggle, and the controller. 3 of those things need to be charged. If you forgot to charge any of them, you cannot fly. The Avata 360 just needs the drone and the controller. 2 things to pack, 2 things to worry about. I have left my anti-gravity vision goggle battery at home more than I can count. It is just too many things to pack. This is also why I would recommend this DJI Avata 360 package, which is what I got, or this one for longer trips. The FPV goggle and the motion controller bundle will just run you into the same headache as the Antigravity A1. And honestly, it is not a true FPV drone. If FPV is what you are after, skip the Avata 360 and stick to Avata 2 and train your piloting skill. So, after all that, what is my verdict? I might be a little harsh on the Avata 360 because my expectation was really high going in. The launch hype set this drone up to be perfect, and it's not, as you see in this video. But it is still a great drone, and here's why it is still in my camera bag. It's the only 360 drone that can do 8K 60 frames per second in 10-bit color depth, and 10-bit at 60 frames per second is required for Apple Vision Pro, MetaQuest, here is the thing I want you to understand about the image quality comparison from earlier in this video. I think the Antigravity A1 sharper look might be coming from AI and some very smart computer vision manipulation. If you zoom right in, like my hands right here, it looks digital, not natural. You might not see it on the 9x16 social media reframe video on your phone, but you definitely see the pixel breakdown inside Apple Vision Pro in full immersive 360 format. That famous security camera or action camera look due to the smaller sensor. The DJI Avata 360 is pure image capture, or you can set it that way by turning down your sharpening and denoising in the controller right here. No smart image manipulation, meaning you can use better AI to upscale, clean up, and achieve a better final result if you know what you are doing. You can AI a raw video with low in-sensor sharpening and no digital denoising. You cannot AI an AI-ed video. So, here is my practical verdict. If you want a sub 250 grand travel freedom and a one-shot AI assist ready to post on social media workflow, the Antigravity A1 is your drone. It is a consumer and influencer drone. If you do immersive 360 video on Apple Vision Pro, MetaQuest, or Galaxy XR, and you know your way around post-production and color grading, then the DJI Avata 360 is the better tool, even with all the trade-offs. It takes practice and work to make Avata 360 first look its best. And in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. How to edit immersive 360 video in DaVinci Resolve 21 and how to encode it for the cleanest playback on Apple Vision Pro or MetaQuest. If you bought this drone, the next tutorial is going to save you hours of trial and error. Subscribe so you can catch it the moment it goes live. I will see you in the next video. Ciao, my friend!